Alright, we're back working on the Mercury. So the first thing we need to do, we need to get this brake line off. So I'm going to do basically hydraulic stuff, then brake shoe stuff, and then we're going to do the wheel bearing stuff and all that kind of goodness. But the first thing I need to do is I need to break this free. So I'm pretty sure I already have it free, but the problem that I'm having is I need to make it so this nut will turn without this line turning. Now I sprayed it with some PB Blast and it looks like it's doing that now. It wasn't doing it before. But when it comes to these, to me, you just got to be patient with them. Luckily, this car being from not the northeast or anything like that, these are actually pretty easily figured out. So what I've done is I've been able to move it about 90 degrees or so, and then I'll move the wrench, and then we'll try to go another 90. I had to put vice grips on the brake line because everything was just spinning at that point, but I think we're going to be good now getting this off. With the hydraulic hose off, we can now work on getting the wheel cylinder out. Now this wheel cylinder is just totally trash, but it has to come out for the new ones to go in. So the way that these wheel cylinders work is they're held on by one big bolt, okay, right here. And that bolt has a lock washer in it because you don't want your wheel cylinder backing out while you're driving, which makes sense. But there's a lock washer. Let me show you what they look like. If I can get one out of this box. These are the lock washers. I had to buy new ones because I obviously don't have any that go on these front wheel cylinders. It was $10 for a pair for $5 each, which isn't too bad. But I would have finished the brakes the day that I did the rear brakes, but I didn't have these, so these are like step number one. So I'm gonna go ahead and do it now. The way to do it is you have to just break all the tabs open like that, and then you can fit a socket on it and remove it that way. It needs a big socket. In order to get these suckers out, I have an 1.25 inch socket with an extension and a huge breaker bar I got from Harbor Freight, which is worth every penny. I use it almost every day. And you basically just have to break it free. Now I've already done that, and that big nut, see if I can do this with one hand, probably not. That big nut will just come off if you rotate it like that. And once you get this free, this comes off like this. Here's the nut. Here's that lock washer, which I don't think they installed it correctly. I think you're supposed to install it like this and then put two on the outside, one on the inside, I don't know, something like that. And then this will just come right out. It's not seized in there. After messing around with this way too long, I figured out you can't pull the wheel cylinder out because there's two problems. In the back, you have this rubber hose, and then there's a bleeder on the other side. So it's pretty much impossible to get any kind of tool in here to break this rubber hose free. And so what I did on the other side, and what I'm going to do on this side, is I'm going to remove the bleeder on that, and then once I take the nut off, this is just to hold it. The nut's just on there to hold it so that bleeder will come off easier. But when I remove the bleeder, the wheel cylinder should be able to clear and come out. Alright, the bleeders are 3/8, so this one came out without much fight. I did have to spray it. I'm curious to see what it even looks like. That bleeder's pretty gross looking, but not too bad. Now, the whole wheel cylinder should come out. And like butter, just comes right on out. That's a nasty looking wheel cylinder. Full of rust. Now, with everything removed, we can clean it all off with brake clean. We can install our new one. So we have our new wheel cylinder, our new line, a new lock washer, and bleeder valve. The one thing that I didn't have, that I had to go get, were these these brass, excuse me, I think they're copper crush washers that go on the end of these brake hoses when they screw into here. If you don't have it, you're going to leak. And I have a couple different sizes. I'm sure I'll have the size that I need. I bought a huge pack for something else I did years ago. But you need those in order to make the job work. We got the hydraulic hose installed correctly with the bleeder. We have the wheel cylinder put in, so now we can go to putting the brake shoes in. Remember these old ones? Paper thin stopping material? Well, the ones we're going to put in are going to be a little better than that. Things that I will reuse from the old stuff will probably be, I need to reuse that, stuff like this, and then also this adjuster, which actually isn't frozen and does not look like the Titanic like the other one did, but it should all go on fairly easy. Starting to look good. So basically everything on this brake is new, with the exception of this drum, which cleaned up really nicely. I know that the brake shoes will clean it up even more. Once I'm going to test fit the drum, make sure it fits on pretty well. I might adjust this out just a little bit so it fits a little bit snugly. And then from there, what we can do is we can repack these wheel bearings and put in all new wheel bearing grease inside, and then this one should be ready to go. Alright, we're going to take a little break from the brakes and add a couple parts that I got off of a parts car from a guy in Indiana. So a couple springs were just completely missing on my car, and I'll show you where they went. So this big one, that went for the throttle. Now I have that spring on there, which is an incorrect spring. It's not hard, it's not tight enough to close the throttle all the way when I push the gas pedal, so we'll replace that one. But the other one that I have, this small one, is interesting that I didn't even know I needed it. It actually goes here on the hood release. So what happens is the hood will open fine, but it doesn't really want to return. And so what that does is it's bending the wire that's in here, but it also makes it so I have to go inside the hood and mess around with this in order for it to close. So for example, right now it's not moved at all. So the spring will help return this to where it needs to be. So just one of those things that's kind of a pain in the butt, but I'm happy to have the spring to go on it. So they will go on. With the little spring right here installed the way it's supposed to be, now this will, basically what was happening before is the hood wasn't, I could open the hood, but then it wouldn't return, and then this was staying where the hood wouldn't close. So now I can open it and shut it like a normal hood. So now it works like it's supposed to, which is good. So the next thing is this throttle. I don't think this works the way it's supposed to. At least the gas pedal, I don't feel it. I feel like it kind of sticks open. See that? You see how I can put it all the way and then it sticks. It needs a little help going over. Might be because the linkages need lube, but I think a lot has to do with the spring. So hopefully this one will work a little bit better. Well, in inspecting these two springs, so this is for a carburetor, obviously a different one, but it's not as thick as this one. And when you can just see, you know, how much effort it takes to do that on that spring, and then this one, super easy. So I'm hoping a little bit extra oomph will help the carburetor close. Are you guys ready for this? Much better. So now I can run the carburetor throttle from the inside, and that's one more little thing done. The last little thing that I got from that same guy was a taillight, which is awesome. So now I have two matching good taillights. The problem that I'm having is this piece right here is really difficult to find. The one I did find in shipping, it broke in like 4 different pieces, and I don't have the ends of these. So yes, stock, it's supposed to have this nifty chrome piece, or it's plastic really, that goes on the lights. But what I'm going to do, just to make the, you know, each side match, just going to have a regular red lens like you saw. And then this one will also be a regular red lens. And then whoever has this later will be able to, you know, put the correct lenses on it. But I think it's better than having, you know, one silver and one not. Let's have them both be the same. Since the brakes are pretty much all done, the last thing to do is this master cylinder. So, believe it or not, this is a new master cylinder. Maybe 10 years ago. It was bolted on and never filled. And you can see inside, it's pretty nice inside. So fingers crossed, I'm hoping that this master cylinder will work for what I need. So basically we're going to remove it and we're going to bench bleed it. Pretty simple. We have to remove this brake line right here. We have to remove these 4 bolts that are here. I'm kind of worried about that because these are kind of loose. I don't know if he just didn't finish or he, you know, messed up some of the welds on the other side of the firewall. I don't know. And then the linkage of the brake pedal needs to be unhooked. I go up under the dash to unhook the master cylinder from the brake pedal, and this is what I find. It kind of just falls out onto my face. Good job installing that. Awful. So there's, you guys can see it in there, right there. That's the butt of the master cylinder, and it's not hooked to anything. So maybe he made it easier for me, I don't know. But we'll get it out and we'll take a look at it. Now we got the master cylinder out and it looks really, really good. You can see inside. You probably can't see inside, but I can see inside and it's brand new inside. Here. There we go. Brand new inside. The only thing I'm worried about is going to be the seals in the back. It's been sitting for a long time. But when we bench bleed it, we'll be able to tell what it does. One thing I want to show you guys is this. So this is a power brake booster that I got from the same guy who sold me those other parts. So the thought was to possibly convert the car to power brakes over the manual brakes. And I think I can do that. What I will probably do is I will probably install this booster unit, but not, you know what, I'm not going to install the booster unit. I'm just going to keep it here for the next person if they want to use it. The reason being, I don't think that the brake line is going to line up. So that will be there for the next person who owns this car. He'll be able to make it power brakes if he wants to. Might need rebuilt, not sure, but there it is. So help for the next person. I began the bench bleeding process and we have a problem. So it's not the plug that I put in that's leaking, it's the little joint in the very front. It's leaking out, see it? So I'm hoping that just needs a brass washer, but I'm going to have to start over on the bleeding and hopefully we can get that all figured out. It shouldn't be too bad. It's the getting it apart part that sucks. So we were getting a little bit of seepage around these two joints, so what I did, took my crescent wrench, tightened it up about a half of a turn, and proceeded to bleed it. And so far, I think there's just residual left. There's really no leaks going on anymore, which is good. So I'm going to call that good. Here in the back, we don't have any kind of leakage coming out of here, which means the rubber seals inside are good. And after using my big screwdriver to bench bleed it, we have geysers of brake fluid and no more bubbles, so that's good. That I'm going to declare good enough to go in the car. I'm going to top it off so that when I get ready to gravity bleed all the rest of the brakes, we'll have enough in the reservoir.